How's everyone doing today? I hope this video finds you well. So, I had a friend reach out to me and she was like, hey girl, like, do you have a video for beginners? Like, I've never really worn makeup, I just wear eyeliner. Do you have anything that I could watch on your channel that would be helpful? And I was like, yeah, I probably got something, you know? So I'm like scrolling through my videos and I'm looking and I'm kind of like, I don't really have anything for beginners. Like, I have a lot of tutorials, but it's kind of just like me doing my own thing, just putting makeup on, showing you how I'm doing it. And I guess subconsciously, I, without realizing it, assumed that most people that watch my videos are probably people that not necessarily have an advanced skill set, but know makeup and wear makeup regularly. I guess I didn't even realize I was just blowing through these videos, not considering people who really don't wear makeup at all or know anything about it, you know? So, I'm not that I'm like some amazing makeup artist. I don't feel like I have an advanced skill set at all, but I obviously don't have a beginner skill set, you know? So, today's video brought to you by my friend Lacey. She wanted something basically for a date night, somewhere between not necessarily your like quick out the door concealer mascara, but not full drag, you know, somewhere in between. So today I'm going to be doing a very easy, simple, pretty soft glam date night look. So per her request, this is your date night for dummies. Also, she just got engaged, so congratulations, that is so exciting. So leave her some love down below, say congratulations, and yeah, we're gonna get right into this video. Okay guys, before we begin, I just want to put a little disclaimer out there that this is going to be a very in-depth tutorial. I am going to be going step by step, really explaining in depth what I'm using, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, why you do it, etc. So strap in, it's gonna be a long one, okay? Schedule some bathroom breaks in between this video. If you don't want to watch a long video, I have plenty of tutorials that are much more quick and easy that you can watch. So yes, let's start with skin prep. The number one way to make your makeup look amazing is by having amazing skin. That's the bottom line. A makeup artist told me that a long time ago. I was like, girl, tell me a good primer because this skin looks like shit every time I put makeup on. And she was like, well, do you have a skincare routine? And I was like, no. So she offered me some advice saying, well, you know, if you really take care of your skin, you're gonna see a huge improvement on how your makeup looks. And she was 100% right. Sometimes I don't always know if my skincare is like really working, and then I put makeup on and I'm like, who is that? I don't know her because her skin's flawless. It really truly makes the biggest difference. So I'm gonna offer you 3 things that you need to do. The first thing is get plenty of rest and water. Those are free and easy things to do. Now I get it, as a working gal myself, sometimes you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs, you own your own business, you have kids, a spouse, extracurricular activities, other things that you need to get done. Sometimes we don't always have the time, but try and make the time. It is not only beneficial for your skin, but your whole body, your whole health, your whole mind. Like, it makes a big difference. The second thing is a routine. The simplest way that I can break down a skincare routine is cleansing, moisturizing, SPF. If you're cleaning your skin, you're nourishing that skin, and then you're protecting that skin, you will see a dramatic change in like 2 weeks. You will see your skin completely transform. The third key is consistency. You have to consistently do these things in order for your skin to evolve and to look better. You can't just drink a bottle of water today and then hope that's good for the rest of the week, okay? You have to consistently drink lots of water, get good sleep, consistently do your skincare routine. If you're not doing your cleansing and your moisturizing twice a day and your SPF once a day in the morning, yeah, you're not gonna cut it, honey, okay? And I don't care what gender, what race, what skin type, what age, preference, whatever, everyone can do those 3 simple, easy steps, and it's gonna make the biggest difference. So that brings me to my next point, which is primer. I personally don't believe that you have to use a primer, okay? I have primers that I do like, but I can't really say that, oh, this primer does something so extraordinary that my skincare doesn't, you know? I feel like if you have a good skincare routine and you're doing a nice skin prep before you put makeup on, you don't need a primer, okay? Now, if you have a more oilier skin type like I do, generally speaking, if I am gonna do makeup, I'm probably not going to do my full skincare routine, right? I'm definitely not going to use a moisturizer, and I'm definitely not going to use an oil, okay? I have a very oily skin type. When you have an oily skin type and you're putting more oily, moisturizing things on your face and you put makeup on that, your makeup's going to start to separate. It's going to start to look weird. You're going to have to apply tons and tons and tons of powder to help mattify. And we don't want to use an excess of product to dumb something down because it's just going to be a disaster later on. So today, for example, I knew I was going to be doing this video. I knew I was going to be doing a full face of makeup. So I cleansed. I did like a mist. Then I used an essence, a very light viscosity essence. Then I used another mist, an eye cream, and a light serum. That's all I did because I knew that I was going to be putting a full face of makeup on. Now, if it was like my day off, I wasn't doing anything, wasn't wearing makeup, I would go the full Monty and do everything. Now, if you have dry skin, you are definitely going to want to do your full skincare routine. You are going to want to add as much moisture and hydration to your face as you can. Remember what I said, if your skin is too oily, that makeup is going to break up, move around, separate, look gross. But if you're dry, that makeup is going to cling to your face. It's going to cling to dry patches. It's going to look very powdery, very cakey. It's going to settle into fine lines and wrinkles and just be a whole different disaster, okay? So when you have dry skin, you really want to ultra, mega, extreme prep the skin. Primers that I do like. I love MAC Fix Plus. I love MAC Face Base. I know a lot of people like MAC Skin Refine Zone. Hangover RX Primer by Too Faced is great. The Euborian Bamboo Matte Primer is amazing. I love the Indeed Labs Nano Bronzing Drops for more bronzy kind of like skincare benefit. I love the Liquid Illuminizer from Soap and Glory. I really like MAC Strobe Cream. I like the Becca primers, the Backlight Priming Filter and the First Light Priming Filter. All of those are amazing. So if you do find yourself needing to use a primer, you can. I'm not using one today. So let's begin with brows. Now, brows. Brows is a personal preference. I personally think that any brow product is relatively the same. It's all about the tone. I personally like to use a black brow product that has a more warm undertone to it. I just think that's what looks the best for my brows. I personally like a brow pomade. I'm not a huge fan of using pencils and pens and things like that, but if you are, then use those. If you have big fluffy brows and you don't need nothing to fill in, just use a little bit of brow gel or nothing at all. Just pluck them a little bit or whatever, you know. Brows is a little more sensitive because I feel like I've done people's makeup who are like, do not touch my brows. You know, like they're like real scared of it looking like you're a clown, okay? Ooh, so I get it. Brows is a personal thing. However, I'm going to be using a brow pomade today. I am going to be using the ABH Dipbrown Pomade in the shade Ebony. Again, a brown with a warm undertone. I'm going to be using it with the Anastasia Beverly Hills No. 12 Brow Brush. This is a very small, tiny little brush with a spoolie. Spoolies are essential. Most pencil products will come with a spoolie on them, so no need to buy a separate thing. But if you want to, you can. I mean, I don't know why you would, but you can. So I'm going to pick up a very small amount of this. I just like to tap my brush in here very lightly, and then I'm going to work out of the cap. As you can see, it's very dirty. So I'm just kind of like wiping off the excess product because I want as little product as possible. I like my brows to look defined, but natural. So I like them to be a little bit fluffy, a little bit sparse. They don't have to be super dark. I just kind of fill in where I think I need some help. So this is my nice brow. This is my mean brow, okay? So I kind of brush it up first to see where I need to fill in. So this one, I'm looking at her and I'm like, okay, she needs to be filled in a little bit down here, a little bit on the top, and then I like to pull out the end. This side, she doesn't need as much help. She's kind of like really in good shape. I might fill in a little on the top and a little on the end. So that's what I'm gonna do. I have to look into a mirror though, if you would like a good result from this. So I've kind of brushed them up to where I want them. So that's the first thing that I do. And then I just kind of lightly brush it into my brows. So I'm gonna kind of start at the front and brush upwards. I do this because the root of the brow is darker than the end of the brow. So you don't want to be pulling too much this way. You want to work up a little bit. So the front part of the brow, I like to be like more spiky. And then like this part over, I like it to be brushed up and over. Just filling in very lightly on the underside. I don't want them to look too harsh. I want them to look effortlessly defined on their own, even though they're not. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to brush these hairs down slightly because your brows tend to grow down. And I'm just lightly going to start in the brow and kind of fill in on the top a bit. And as you can see, I'm using a very light hand, very little product, but you are starting to see a shape form. That's good. Then I'm gonna brush my brows back into place so we can see what the final brow is gonna look like. All right, coming together, I might wanna add a little bit more on top. I'm going in with a little bit of a harsher hand here because I just don't have that much product on my brush. Oh, starting to look good, right? Starting to look like a real brow. You also want to use your spoolie very lightly, you guys, because you don't want to erase too much of the work, because then you're just going to be going back and forth trying to fill in because you're spooling too much away. So also use the spoolie very lightly, because that's happened to me a lot before, where I'm like, oh, what's going on? Where's my brow going? Why did she leave the party early? All right, that brow looks amazing. If I do say so myself, I'm actually kind of shocked. Because sometimes I just feel like I can't get the brows right sometimes, you know? And it's more often than not. So this one, again, I'm going to fill in slightly under here, just so that it matches a little bit more to the other side. Also, rule number 1, your brows are sisters, they are not twins. So, you know, don't make yourself crazy trying to make them look perfect. I find most of the times when my brows look really good, it's because I did them so quick in a rush, and then I'm like, damn, that looks really good. Because I'm not spending so much time freaking out, going back and forth, trying to make them even, and just then they get out of control, you know? So I'm putting a little bit under here. Again, I'm brushing them down, just filling in slightly behind them. And then we're gonna brush back up again to make sure that they look incredible. So I'm going to add just a touch more on the top here. Another trick, and this goes for any step in your makeup routine, is to always look back at yourself far away. So like I'm looking really close up when I'm doing them, but then I'm looking back at you guys at the camera to go, okay, if I'm looking at someone, you know, where my brow's gonna be this big when I look at them because I was looking so close. No, they look pretty good. So I'm starting to get happy with how these are looking. So I'm just gonna fill in a little bit more on this one. Fill in a little bit more on the tail. And I think that we are in business. Hell yeah. It's like I'm surprising myself. You guys are like, wait, why am I watching your channel again? All right, so we're gonna be done with the brows for now, and we're going to move on to the eyes. All right, so I don't believe in face primers that much, but I do believe in eye primers. I personally have very oily, creasy lids. I have a hooded eye, so I'm prone to creasing. I personally always use an eye primer. So my two favorites are the MAC paint pots. I have mine in soft ochre today. I also have it in painterly, which is a little bit more pinky beige. And then of course my queen of my life, the Urban Decay Potion Primer. It's the best. I will never love another. I mean, besides these, but it's like literally amazing. It keeps the shadow in place for so long. It doesn't budge. Like I went out the other night and all my makeup had gone to shit because I was sweating so much and like trying to wipe my face and wearing a mask, but my eyes looked like it was freshly applied. I'm obsessed. But today I'm using soft ochre paint pot. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit with my brush. Whenever it comes to complexion products, I never really, because I kind of consider this a complexion product, I never put anything directly onto the face. So I always kind of like tap in here, and then I'll like tap a little of the excess off on the back of my hand, and then I will start to go in. So with this, I'm going to stipple. Stipple means that you're going like this. Okay, swiping is where you're swiping or wiping. So this is stippling, and then buffing would be like this. But we don't want that either. We don't want to disturb it. So we want to place it down, and I'm placing it from the the brow bone all the way to the lash line, because I'm going to be putting product all up on this bitch. So the reason that I got rid of a lot of the excess to the back of my hand is because I didn't want to put too much product. I didn't want to goop it up too much. Even though it looks like it's a lot of product right now, that's just because it has kind of like that concealing effect a little bit. But really, it's not a lot of product. We don't want a ton of stuff under there moving it around. And the reason I like these is because they're mattifying, but they're also concealing. Not that I need a ton of help with my eye area. I don't particularly have super veiny eyelids or dark circles, hyperpigmentation, a ton of redness in that area. But it just makes it a nice, clean canvas for you to work on. Because today we are artistes. You could also, if you want, use your finger for this too. So you could just put a little bit on your finger and then tap it onto your eye space as well. And now she is ready for the eyes. The reason I do eyes first is because if you have any type of fallout or you want to clean up your eyeshadow, maybe you did a wing and it's a little wonky, you kind of want to sharpen it up with a Q-tip, it's really hard to do that when you have your full base on. So then you have to like either be super careful and risk still getting eyeshadow everywhere, or basically remove all this makeup and start over, which is a waste of product and a waste of your time. So that's why I've started doing eyes first. It also gives a chance for your skin prep or your primer to kind of settle into your face, start working, start doing its thing, instead of like all sitting on top of your face and then you're like trying to put a bunch of complexion products on top. So that's my reasoning. Now, we are going to be doing a really simple brown smoky eye. My specialty and personal fave, if I do say so myself. There are a ton of neutral eyeshadow palettes out there. If you just do a Google search and Google neutral eyeshadow palettes, you will find 7,500 million. I love the Jaclyn Hill palette, even though it is not the original formula. The Anastasia Soft Glam palette, the Desi and Katie collaboration Dose of Colors palette, the BPerfect Cosmetics in collaboration with Jaw makeup artist. Clientele palette's amazing. The Bare Necessities palette from ColourPop is amazing. There's so much out there. The Wayne Goss palette, that's amazing. So whatever your budget, whatever your preference, I know that there is stuff out there that you can find to recreate this look, okay? So today we're basically using one color, brown, and we're using 3 different shades of brown. So a lighter brown, kind of warm tone shade, a more mid-tone, and then a really deep brown shade. That's it. Today we want something a little bit smokier, a little sexier, because we're going on a date night, okay? The first step that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking a small bit of translucent powder. You can use translucent powder. You can use a powder very similar to your skin tone, or an eyeshadow that's very close to your skin tone. And I'm just lightly, with the lightest amount of product, I mean so little product you have to look under a microscope to see it, and I'm just going to kind of fluff this on the eye. Just not in particular. We just kind of want to set the eye a little bit. I like doing this when I do like a smoky eye because it helps to diffuse the eyeshadows. Now, that's the look we're going for today. We're not going for something super colorful and intense where we want that impact of color. We want something that's complementary to the eye, smoky, soft, angelic, diffused, blended, all the vocab words you can think of here. I've been talking about working from light to dark, and that is because we want it to look blown out and diffused, right? We want it to look nice and blended. We want each color to mesh into the next color, right? While still adding dimension. So I'm going to be going in first with a light color, and I'm going to be using that same brush that I used to put the translucent powder all over my eye. You want a kind of nice fluffy blending brush. This is the Morphe M441. The Morphe 433 is great. The regular crease and the large crease from Royal and Lane Nickel. A Sigma blending brush. I like the ColourPop blending brush. And the reason that we're using a big fluffy blending brush like this is because we want to cover a lot of area, and we also want to blend. If we were to use a more dense packer brush, it's going to apply the product very heavy and very intense. We don't want that. We want something nice and diffused and soft. On the other side of the coin, we'd use a smaller brush to do more pinpoint work, like right here or in our corner, stuff like that. But in this case, we want it nice and soft and blown out, and especially because it's the first color. So I'm actually going to be using my Clientele palette from BPerfect Cosmetics in collaboration with Jaw makeup artist, and I am going to be going in with the shade Sandy, this shade right here. Now, depending on your skin tone, you can go deeper and deeper. Obviously, if I was working on a client with deeper skin tone, I probably wouldn't go in with this one. Oh, hey. I probably wouldn't go in with that one. If you had a more medium skin tone, you could probably go in with the shades like Dirty Tan, or this one down here, or Brownie. Or if you had a deeper skin tone, you could go in with one of these, this one, this dark brown here. So it really just depends. I'm a light skin tone. I'm not necessarily super fair, but I'm not medium. I'm just light. So Sandy is perfect as a starter transition shade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up product like this. I'm going to go swipe on either side, and then I'm going to pick up about 2 to 3 strokes like this, and then I'm going to tap off the excess, and we're going to go in, okay? So this Sandy shade right here, we're just going to go one side, the other side, tap in a couple times, kind of coating the tip of the brush, and then I'm just going to tap off the excess, or you can flick off the excess, but do not blow. That is nasty. Don't blow in your brushes, okay? So what I'm going to do is find my crease. Everyone's crease is going to be different because everyone's eye shape is different, okay? So basically my eyeball is here, right? My crease is this bone right here. So wherever this orbital bone is in your eye, that bone, and where your eyeball meet in that socket is your crease area. Okay, right in here, that's my crease. So I'm going to start in the middle and just do windshield wiper motions. I'm also holding my brush really far back. The closer that you hold the brush, the more intensely pigmented you're going to get the eyeshadow. We don't want that. We want it to be soft and blown out. So use the back, where you have less control, okay? We're gonna do this slowly. We're gonna do it very lightly, light pressure. I'm looking into a mirror, by the way, if you see me looking off to the side. So I'm gonna start right here, okay? And I'm slowly going to work that pigment onto the lid. So see how we're just kind of getting that nice little wash of color? That's what we want. Yeah. And when you feel like you have no product left on your brush, kind of bring it up toward the brow. See what I did? Now, after we do this, we're gonna kind of repeat it a couple times just to get my color where I want it. Now, this is a personal preference. If you think this is dark enough for you, leave it. Move on to the next color. If you wanna build it up, build it up. I wanna build it up. So again, I'm just going in with a little bit more product, tapping off the excess and lightly going right over that. But I'm actually starting more on like this half of my eye because I want the color to really be built more dark on the outer corner, not on the inner corner. So I'm starting like out here, and then I'm slowly bringing it over. So I'm concentrating most of the product on the outer corner and then slowly bringing it into that inner corner. And then I'm just, again, going to blend this up toward the end of the brow. I'm not blending out this way. We don't want to bring the shadow here. We want to bring it up here to give it more lift this way, because we want to look young, okay? We're getting older by the minute. Again, I'm just slowly stippling that on the outer corner, kind of blending onto the lid a little bit, concentrating most of the product out here, and then slowly bringing it over this way when I feel like I don't have that much product on my brush. Beauties. I'm gonna do a little bit more right in the middle. I just kind of want to deepen that up a little bit, add a little bit more product right there. All right, I think that is a perfect crease look. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side off camera and we'll be back. All right, so we are back. As you can see, I just have a really light wash of color in the crease. Now we're gonna go in with our next shade. So the shade that I'm gonna pick, I think I'm gonna use a mixture of Dirty Tan and Brownie. So this shade right here, Brownie, and then this shade right here, Dirty Tan. So this time I'm gonna use a little less product. So I'm literally gonna tap in like twice to each one. So I'm gonna tap in, just tapping into Brownie, and then Dirty Tan, and then tapping off the excess. This time, instead of really blowing it up just slightly above the crease, I'm gonna go right in the crease, and that's where we're putting it. I'm also gonna start on the outer portion of the eye, because again, that's where we want the most pigment. So I'm placing it first about right here, and I'm going to slowly work that into my crease. Putting a little bit onto the lid, and then again, just blending back and forth, but keeping it very low. And then when I feel like I don't have that much product on my brush, I'm slightly bringing it in just a little bit. And look at what a difference it's making already. And that's why we build. So what do we do, boys and girls? We make sure that we're looking. So again, I'm applying the eyeshadow really close up, and then I'm taking a step back to see when I'm looking at someone, when I'm talking to somebody, is it going to look good? The other tip I have for you is to keep your eyes open when you do your eyeshadow. I know it might be like habit to like close your eyes to do it, and sometimes you should, just to make sure that everything's blended on the lid, because I've done it sometimes where I've looked straight ahead and then I've closed my lid and there's all this area that I missed. But generally speaking, that's how I like to do it. So that way I know that when I'm looking at someone or I take a picture, I'm not gonna look back and go, yikes. Can barely see my eyeshadow. So again, just picking up a little bit more of each of those, still concentrating on the outer corner. We're really going to develop this color. Then slowly bringing it in, but again, I'm keeping it really low. Just a little bit more. I kind of stipple a little first to disperse the product, and then I blend. Looks really, really good. So again, once you've built up that color and blended it out to where you want to, you can go in with your next dark shade. So I'm just kind of finessing mine. You can also do this while looking at the camera, so you can kind of see like, okay, I kind of want to lift it a little here more. I kind of want to bring a little more color here, you know, just kind of tweak things that you want. So I think that looks good. I'm gonna do the other eye, come back to you in a minute. All right, so now that my mid-tone shade is there looking good, I'm gonna take a little bit of a smaller brush. It's a little bit flatter, but still kind of fluffy so that we can blend, but it's not too big to where it's over blending. So this is the Morphe M443. Again, any kind of little smaller blending brush is going to work great. I'm gonna take the shade Too Much, which is the darkest brown shade, and mix a tiny bit of brownie into it, just because I'm a little nervous that it's gonna be a little bit too cool tone, a little bit too ashy, so I'm gonna mix the two, and then maybe I'll add a little bit of Too Much by itself once I see how I kind of want it. Now this one, we're gonna really use a little bit of product, okay? So I'm gonna touch into Too Much a little bit, and then I'm going to touch a little bit into brownie. Okay, tap off the excess. Then I'm going to place it in the corner, very little. And I'm gonna place it right in the corner here, right there in the crease, in the corner, really lightly, really sparingly, not gonna blow it out, not gonna bring it up, very gently. So just right here, I'm gonna place the brush first, and I'm just going to kind of toggle back and forth here. And see, we're already starting to see that color kind of come into play here. Now I'm gonna take the brush vertically instead of horizontally, because I applied it kind of horizontally to make sure it was low. Then I'm gonna take the brush vertically to kind of blend it out a little bit. Looking back at myself, it's looking really good. I'm gonna do that again. Keeping it really low on the lid. Look back at it, look back at it. That is looking really good. Now I'm gonna go in with just Too Much by itself and stamp this on first. Again, really low. Bringing the excess over just a little bit. And I think that's looking really good. And don't worry, you guys, we're gonna go and clean everything up. So trust in the process, trust and believe. So again, I'll be back, do the other side, and then we'll come clean it up, and then we'll start on the face. Okay, we're back and we're blended. So The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that original brush that we used the lighter colors on, and I'm just going to tweak everything, blend it, make it look nice and together, okay? All right, so I went ahead and tried to get most of the product off on a towel that I have next to me, so I'm just kind of like, so I'm going to go into that shade Sandy again, and I'm just going to go over the dark shade ever so slightly. And I'm just kind of like blending out the edges, blending everything together, just making sure that everything looks nice and seamless. Yeah, all of a sudden, that's making a huge difference. Yeah, that looks really good now compared to like this side. So I'm gonna repeat. So all I'm going to do is repeat. I'm going to try to get as much excess off on a towel next to me, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to blend out this side. All right, now this step in the game, you can either choose to do a shimmer on the lid or you can leave it nice and matte like it is. We're going for a date night look, so I'm gonna use a little bit of a shimmer from this palette. I think I'm just gonna tap my finger into these three kind of like warm, kind of brown shades. Just very so slightly. And then I'm going to press this onto the eye. So I'm going to tap it onto the eye and then I'm going to like swipe a little bit, okay? So I'm going to look in my mirror and then we can look back at ourselves. So we're just popping a very complimentary shimmer shade on the lid. If you want to leave it matte, you can. If you would like to go a little bit darker, a little bit more intense, a little more sexy, I would probably use like just bronzy, like just this really dark brown shade, but I mixed a little of these three in and I barely tapped my finger in there to pick up product. So that's the other thing, is I'm using a very, very small amount when I do this. And dang, if these shimmers are not like so gorgeous, you guys. Oh my gosh. So again, I'm just repeating the same thing on the other side. I'm lightly tapping into these shadows and then I'm pressing them onto my eye, concentrating most of it on my lid. Also, don't forget to swipe a little bit near the lash line because sometimes that little area gets left out. Now we can go back in with that same brush that we used to blend and just kind of blend the edges of where the shimmer is, just so that there's no harsh lines, right? Because we want this to be really nice and smoky and simple, you know? So this is the eye look so far. I don't really have a lot of fallout. So I'm just gonna like wipe under my eye a little bit, but really I don't have too much fallout. So that's good. So now we're gonna leave the eyes for now, and then we're gonna come back to do the lower lash line and the mascara later, okay? Alrighty, tidy. We are going into complexion products. So you can either use brushes for this, you can use a sponge for this, you can use brushes and sponges. You can even use your fingers. The best makeup artist in the world, Pat McGrath, uses fingers for like 98% of the stuff that she does. So feel free to use whatever you want. I personally like to apply complexion products with a brush first, then go over with a sponge and make sure that they're blended, pick up any excess product. You get me. So I'm going to take a concealer that is very similar to my skin tone, or just a shade or half shade lighter, and I'm going to apply it under my eyes, but mostly lower down on my cheeks because I have a lot of redness on my cheeks, and that's where I want the most skin evening, is right there. So that's where I want the concealer to be. So we'll go in with a little bit of a lighter concealer in a minute. So I just take it on the back of my hand. I personally do not apply anything directly to the face when it comes to complexion, like I was saying. I'm going to take this fluffy synthetic brush from Moda. It's the Moda Glow Brush. I have like 4 of these. They're so freaking good. You can use them for anything. And I'm just going to pick up the product. And then I'm going to kind of tap off the excess. And then I'm going to start going underneath the eyes. I'm going to start on this side first, and I'm going to start right here because this little area is where the most redness is at. So I'm just going to lightly kind of swipe that on to the face. And then I'm going to bring it up under the eye, but I'm going to sort of stipple and move back and forth. It may not look like I'm stippling my brush, but as you can see, I am. I'm going to bring a little bit under the nose right here because I get a little redness right under the nose. And any excess that's on the brush, I'm just going to kind of bring down my face. You don't need to add a lot on this area down here, but a little bit's okay. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And as you can see, our worries and our redness just melt away. Also, if you want a little bit more coverage, like let's say you're like, oh, I want a little more coverage right there, stipple, press, don't swipe. That's gonna move around the makeup, okay? So I'm just pressing a little bit of excess right under there. So that's looking really good. It's kind of bringing the excess down on this little area over here, kind of on the chin a little bit. There's literally like nothing on my hand. I'm just like literally picking up the residual. A little on the center of the forehead, a little on the center of the nose. Now I'm going to look at a mirror up close just to see how everything's looking. All right. Mama likes what she sees. I'm gonna just add a touch more over here on this side. So I'm just putting a little bit on the back of my hand again. Picking it up on my brush. And then just skimming it around the eyeshadow like that. Kind of cleaning up that eyeshadow area. Now, sometimes I literally just do this, as you guys know, and leave it at that. But we're going for something a little more full coverage today. Because we going on a date. We're going on a date. We're celebrating our engagement. Yes, we are. All right. So that freaking looks amazing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to using my foundation. Normally what I would do is bronze and contour with a cream, but again, this is a beginner kind of basic tutorial. I'm going to mix my number 15 Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless. Very small amount. And just a hair of my Covergirl, like a little half pump. So this part in the game is also where you could add like a liquid illuminizer or liquid bronzer or something if you want to make it more dewy and shimmery. But I'm not doing that today. So I kind of mixed it on the back of my hand a little bit. And I'm going to take this flat top kabuki brush. This is from Sigma. It's the F80. It's amazing. It's a god, literally a god. You want something really nice and dense that's going to apply the product really seamlessly. So I'm just going to pick up some of the product on my hand. I'm just kind of rolling the brush and I'm like getting a little bit of the excess off. And then I'm just going to go in all the places that I didn't apply the concealer. So I'm going to go like down here, a little bit more on the forehead, a little bit on the sides of the nose, okay? So at first I'm going to stipple this on. And then I'm also going to swipe. So I kind of go through this fluid motion where it's a combination of like stippling and slightly swiping. So going down here, we want to bring the foundation down our necks. Not because this foundation is extremely different than the color of my skin, but we just kind of all want it to melt together. We don't want to see a harsh line. We want people to go, damn, she just is like a model. That's what it is. She was born with flawless skin. Now you can blend a little bit into that concealer, but not too much, you know what I mean? Because it's already kind of setting into place. It's already kind of doing what we need it to do. Go up here a little bit. Can even go on your ears a little bit, bring it into the hairline a little bit. Just be careful. Don't bring it too much into the hairline, but you want it to be nice and seamless. If you have really light hair, be careful because it will transfer onto your hair. So now I'm kind of stippling. Making sure I'm getting every nook and cranny. Again, make sure that you're looking at yourself. You're looking good. You're feeling right. And anytime that you're swiping like this, make sure that you're using a really light hand, just so that you're not moving the product around. Now, because I want to brighten and bring some dimension, I'm going to go ahead and use my NARS Chantilly concealer. This is a very light concealer. So this is going to be used just right in here to bring brightness to the center of the face. So I'm going to pick this up with my brush. I'm just lightly tapping in there. Of course, I'm tapping off the excess, and then I'm just pushing it right in there. This step's not really a necessity if you use a very light concealer right off the bat, but I kind of like to build that dimension because I don't want it way bright down here. I want it just bright right in the inner corner. And as you guys can see, that dimension is starting to come now. I'm gonna use a tiny bit right here. Use a tiny bit in the center of the forehead. And again, I don't want to move too much of the foundation and stuff around, so I'm just lightly tapping. Plus, this area of the forehead, I like it to be lighter, but it doesn't need to be like as light as my under eye, if that makes any sense. And I'm really lightly skimming now. Same with my chin. I don't mind if this area is highlighted a little bit more, but not as harsh as the under eyes. Then again, now that I've been looking for myself far away, I want to make sure that I'm looking up close, because sometimes you can look at yourself far away and be like, damn, I look good. And then you look up close and you're like, ah! So, all right, now that I'm looking at myself up close, this is actually looking really pretty. So, nothing to see here. Now, if you haven't noticed, I have not picked up one powder product yet because we're not ready for them. So I'm going to take my MAC Fix Plus and a damp sponge. I've squeezed out a lot of the excess, and I'm going to spray my sponge with MAC Fix Plus. And you can use MAC Fix Plus, you can use any setting spray you want. I'm just picking up the leftover residual on the back of my hand, and then I'm going to roll. I'm going to roll like this, and I am just going to pick up any excess product while also low-key setting my face. And we're also blending. We're making sure everything is nice and soft because we want to look pretty, but we want to look like we woke up like this at the same time. You know, isn't that like the dream? Isn't that our goal? Now I'm lightly pressing, very lightly, trying not to move the makeup. I'm not swiping at all. We're just setting, blending, perfecting. So this is looking amazing. Now the skin still looks like skin, but we've evened the skin. It's just looking really good. So now we can go into the powders. I'm gonna use this Flat Wayne Goss brush. It's very soft. It's perfect for the under eye area. And I'm just gonna pick up some of my translucent powder, and I'm going to set my under eye with a very small amount of powder. I don't want too much because I do have texture on my under eyes, but I also don't want them to crease because they will crease. So I'm using a very, very light bit of translucent powder, literally working out of the cap and just setting my under eyes and the center of the forehead, around the nose area. It's another reason I love this brush is it hugs. And that's another reason I love this brush, because it kind of like hug the area around your nose like so perfect. I'm also going over my upper lip because I tend to sweat on my upper lip. I'm also going right here where these lines are. And of course around my mouth area and my chin, because you're gonna talk, you're gonna eat, you're gonna do all the things. Now I'm getting a bigger, fluffier brush, and again, working out of the cap. Very light amount of product. Just going to set the rest of the face very lightly. And I'm just patting. And I'm doing the same with the eyeshadows. I'm picking up a little amount of product and I'm tapping off the excess. We're not trying to like pick up a bunch and then like, you know, carry it over to our face. We want the least amount of product that we can get. Then I'm just taking the brush with like little to no product and just sort of lightly buffing it and skimming it over my face. We also want to make sure that we're setting down our necks as well, because we don't want it to transfer on our clothes or on our jewelry or on our hair. Next step is bronzer. This is where the face comes to life. I'm going to be taking this big brush. I'm going to use my Butter Bronzer by Physicians Formula. I'm just going to touch in here like this. I'm going to touch it into the cap a little bit and kind of work out of the cap. And I'm just going to stamp where I want it and then buff it in. So essentially, you want to suck your cheeks in. I can kind of tell because I can see already a little shape right here on mine. But suck your cheeks in. That line. Right above it, right in this area. And I kind of keep mine higher up toward the face. I don't want to bring it down too low. So I'm working out of the cap. I'm tapping where I want it, and then I'm buffing it in. And I'm just repeating that. Also, you can repeat these steps until you feel like you have the amount of bronzer that you want. So stippling and then buffing. Like I said, I'd normally use a cream and then just set the cream with a powder bronzer, but this is more of just like a beginner step for bronzer. I'm also going to bring a tiny bit on the sides of my nose. I'm also going to bring a tiny bit down my neck as well, when there's barely any product left. And then I'm skimming whatever the excess is right underneath the eyes. And we are looking good. Again, want to check up close? All right, time for blush. I'm going to use MAC Melba because it's just a nice neutral peachy blush. Just going to swirl my fan brush in here. I like using fan brushes for blush because they don't over blush you. And I'm just going to go right above the bronzer, kind of pulling the blush into the bronzer. So concentrating most of the product like up here and then slowly working it into the bronzer, because I like them to like get married. And then of course I'm gonna just apply a little bit right on the apple of the cheek, very lightly. This is a really pretty blush. I'm also going to bring just a touch of it onto my forehead area because I like a lot of color on the face and I don't like the bronzer to look so like bronzer. You know, I like it to have more of that like just light skin dimension. Then we're gonna bring the excess residual onto my nose. Just kind of veiling everything, meshing everything together, doing just a little more concentrated right here. Blush is probably the first thing to go on your makeup, so it's okay if you apply a little bit more than expected because it's gonna kind of wear down a little bit. I'm also gonna take whatever residual is on the brush and just kind of bring it up onto my eye as if I was blending out the edges. That way it all kind of meshes together. And now we can use our setting spray. So I'm going to use my Urban Decay All Nighter and just spray my face. Then you do a little shimmy. That's part of it. If you don't do the shimmy, your makeup's just going to go to shit. Haven't done highlighter yet. That's something I save for the end. I'm now going to go ahead and set my brows, do the rest of my eyes, and apply mascara. All right, so I'm using my 24-hour brow setter. I'm just going to spike the front hairs up, and then the other hairs, I'm going to just spike them up and over. And I do this part so that way my brows aren't all set, and then when I do powder, now there's all this powder in my brows. This is kind of going to bring my brows back to life. And that is that. Moving on to the lower lash line. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a mixture of sandy, dirty tan, and brownie. I'm literally just touching once into each of them very lightly, tapping off the excess on this tiny little brush, and then all I'm gonna do is move it right underneath the lower lash line, concentrating most of the product on the outer edge, and then slowly bringing it in. And that, my friends, looks amazing. So now I'm just going to apply a little bit of mascara. You can use whatever mascara you want. I'm going to use the KKW Beauty one in the shade Black. And I do not do my lower lashes because my lower lashes will transfer. So I just do my top lashes. So I also wanted to mention that this portion of the video, before you do your mascara, is your time to do liner if you would like. I personally don't do liner, but I know Lacey does do liner. So girl, if you wanted to do liner, you do your liner now. Then you apply your mascara. Same with lashes. This would be the time to apply lashes, but I'm doing something a little bit more beginner friendly. So to me, this is more beginner friendly than doing lashes. Now we can use our highlighter. I'm using the high cheekbone highlighter brush from Sigma. You want something kind of small and fluffy, just like this. I also like it because it kind of tapers to a point this way, so it like perfectly grazes the skin, which I really like. And I'm gonna use Becca Opal highlighter, but you can use whatever highlighter you want, you know. If you're of a deeper skin tone, you might want to use something a little deeper than this. I'm just lightly tapping into this, and then I'm tapping the excess off, because this can be a really intense highlighter, and I do want that glow, but I want it very subtly and where I want it. So I'm gonna just put the brush right where I want it. If you don't know where to put your highlighter, look into a light. I have an amazing ring light on right now. Just turn your head. You can see this lit up area. That's where you want the highlight. That's where you want the emphasis, so that when you turn your head, that part is beaming and it's bringing the focus of your cheekbone up. So I'm just going to pinpoint right here, right in the center of that, and I'm slowly going to work my brush outwards. I'm not really into extreme highlight anymore. So that is looking really pretty. Let's kind of blend it out a little bit. I'm gonna put a little on the bridge of my nose, a little on the tip of my nose, a little onto my Cupid's bow. I'm just gonna repeat on the other side. And then you can also take a little bit above the brow bone very lightly. I use like the most minuscule amount of product you could ever imagine. Now with the same highlighter, I'm going to use a more pinpoint brush, and I'm going to apply a little bit in the inner corner just to brighten up the inner corner. We're all about brightness in the center of the face. And I'm also going to take a tiny, tiny amount right in the center of the brow bone just to highlight up there. We shall add another layer of setting spray. And now we can move on to our lips. Now lips, again, very customizable at this portion of the video. So you can do a nude lip, a warm nude, a cool nude, a pink, a purple, a black, whatever your little heart desires. I'm gonna use the lip liner, keeping with our kind of warm brown theme. I'm gonna use the lip liner Sugar and Spice by Gerard Cosmetics and outline my lips. Now, I don't have the biggest lips in the world, but I don't have small lips. I have a decently full set of lips. So I only lightly go over my lips, but even if you had small lips, I don't recommend super overlining. Just line right outside of your lip line. That's all you need, just right outside of your own natural lip line. That will give you a more plump pout without looking stupid, essentially. I'm going to use the Revlon Color HD Matte Lip Color in the shade Forever. Because after this date night, y'all going to be together forever. And I'm just going to do a little bit in the center. Ugh. This color is so pretty. Damn, that is such a good color. You can leave it like this. You have a nice matte lip color on. Of course, you don't have to use a matte lip color. I just figured, you know, y'all might be kissing or something. But you can use lipstick, lip gloss, whatever you want. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Use what you like. I'm actually going to use a little bit of this Tower 28 gloss in the shade Cashew. I've been so obsessed with this. And this perfectly complements this lip color. And these glosses are so affordable, so bomb, really lightweight. Love, love, love them. All right, this is the finished look. How do you like it? Do you love it? Do you guys feel like you learned something? Did you learn nothing? Tell me, give me some feedback. What do you guys think? Beginner's Guide to Makeup. Let me know what you guys would do differently. Let me know what you guys liked, what you didn't like. If you have any other questions, please let me know. I will have everything linked down below that you need. I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you, Lacey, for reaching out to me. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.